Sage Steele is here, ESPN Morning Sports Center host. Let me get the official introduction. She's returned to Bristol after being away for 4 years. Debuts Monday, August 28th. That'll be SportsCenter AM from 7 until 10 Eastern. You can watch from 7 until 9, Sage says, and then turn over to this show. Well, that's nice of you saying that, with Jay Harris and Randy Scott. Randall Scott there with Jay Harris. How are you?
I'm great, and thank you for inviting me here. Milford, Connecticut.
Yeah.
I can check it off the bucket list now.
Yeah? This was on your bucket list?
Oh, for sure.
Really?
Top 3.
Top 3-ish? Okay. Is this show on in the newsroom?
Dan.
What?
Really?
Wait.
No. However, you're not asking me about homes.
Oh, no, I want to know about work.
See, I haven't been there in 4 years, so I'll let you know on Monday.
Yeah.
How about that? But I'm guessing no. Not that we don't love you, but right?
Well,
That's fair.
I want to be on the radar of the mothership. That's all. I just don't.
You're always on the radar. You make sure that you stay on the radar.
Do you remember your first SportsCenter?
Unfortunately, yes.
Because Reese Davis talked about his first SportsCenter, and he thought his job was hanging in the balance. He said
beforehand or after?
Before and after.
Yeah.
And he said he got a call from Keith Oberman and said, you deserve to be in the rotation. You deserve to be there. Mm-hmm. He said he thought that his career was really at a crossroads if he was going to get kept. He said that yesterday. Did you feel vulnerable after your first SportsCenter?
What's a stronger word? I was pretty sure that I wouldn't be asked back ever again. And I would have understood it, frankly, because it was that bad.
Why?
Because I was horrid. I was, number one, I was scared to death. I had just seen Dan Patrick in the hallways the week before.
That is not true.
No, it is. And you were like, yeah, who's the intern? And kept walking.
That is not true. I did not say you were an
nice.
Intern.
You were You were nice. You were nice. No, but seriously, you, Stuart Scott, you guys are the reason why I wanted to work at ESPN. Seriously. So it was a big deal, and you were still there. It was a big deal to be there. And my first show wasn't planned.
What time did you do your show?
My debut, 6 p.m. SportsCenter.
Oh, well, see, first of all, I would never have had you do a 6 p.m.
Bingo.
Right?
Number one. Number two, it was the first day of the NCAA tournament in March of 2007. So there's 956 scores coming in at once.
Yeah.
A 1 hour show went to 2 hours and 45 minutes because the rundown was thrown out immediately. I was with Jay Harris, actually. So talk about full circle. 10 years later, coming back to launch the show. I had never met Dick Vitale or Digger Phelps ever until I was walking over to do the segment. And I'll just leave it there because the rest of it. So needless to say, when I got done 3 hours later, I cried. And I called my husband and was like, so this place called Connecticut, we won't be living here long. There's no way they're going to let me come back. It was just too much. I was completely overwhelmed and I fell on my face.
Paulie, we have that entire SportsCenter. Let's play it. Yeah, here we go. Here's all 2 hours and 45 minutes of that SportsCenter.
I would vomit if I ever saw a clip of it. It was that bad. Was it the right decision? No. And they told me later, we're sorry. Basically, no shot at succeeding there. However, I learned from it, right? You can't go down from there. I had to go up. Only one way.
When did you feel like, okay, I can do this for a living?
Well, before I got to ESPN, I thought I could do it for a living. And then that happened. And literally, it took me at least 2 years to get my confidence back up. And here's the funny thing. I was convinced that I would not get renewed, to get another contract. It was a 3-year deal, and I was pretty sure. I actually started selling skincare on the side. So I was working 5 a.m. to 1 p.m., Mike and Mike updates, first take, because I was out of the SportsCenter rotation immediately. And so I went from assuming I'd be on nights, and I was coming in with 3 babies and, to early mornings, whatever, did that. So 1 p.m. get off, and then I'd go home, say hi to the kids, and I would go to women's houses and set up my little skincare line and wine and cheese and beg them to buy these products because I'm the breadwinner. I was like, I have to support my family, and there's no way they're renewing me. I was scared to death. And then I got mad, and I got really ticked off that I would allow a couple of bad decisions and a bad performance to get in my head and affect my whole career. And something clicked and it changed in time to get another deal. Because
if you look at the situation, sometimes people get put into these situations at a young age. I thought Jason Jackson, who I love dearly, was put into an early SportsCenter and he wasn't ready for it. and then people have their impression of you. Management looks at you differently. Then all of a sudden they demote you, or you get the feeling you're demoted. Now
I was demoted.
I'm just an update person here.
Yeah.
I'll never get a chance to do SportsCenter again. And then you start to go, is this what I want to do with my life?
Which is why I started selling skincare.
Were you any good at selling skincare?
No, it was horrible. I mean, I'd be like, okay, this $80 face moisturizer, but you don't need that one. It's too expensive. Just buy the one for $45. Like, horrid.
Why don't you do it now?
I would do it in addition to this.
You could really do it. I mean, you could do it now. Look at you.
Keep talking.
Who would know that you're 55?
I'm gonna get here.
You look great
Black
for 50.
don't crack, babe. You know this.
Is that what it is?
You know this. And I'm only half, so thank you, Dad.
All right. Well, Sage
See,
Steele.
I'm going to make him feel awkward now.
Sage Steele. By the way, McLovin has a story. Can we tell the story to Sage?
That story where you were saying, it's not even much of a story.
Okay. Your brother works for the Ravens.
Yeah.
PR.
One of them, yes.
Yeah. So real tall. What is he, 6'5", 6'6"?
He's like 6'8" almost.
Okay.
6'8", like 240. Big guy.
So you can't miss him. He's always there. McLovin goes up to him and...
Uh-oh.
It's so nice to meet you, a Hall of Famer, tight end, one of the greatest ever basketball player. Nice to meet you, Tony Gonzalez.
Oh, yeah. Do you know how often he gets that?
For Tony Gonzalez?
Literally once a week.
Oh, well then, do you feel better now? Because he was beating himself up.
No. It happened all the time. And actually, when Tony and Chad are together, they take pictures. The problem is, I covered the Ravens for 4 seasons while he was the PR guy. Talk about awkward when I'm like, hey, I have to ask permission to interview Ray Lewis. He's like, no. Remember in 3rd grade when you told Dad that I'm like, and then I would call my dad and I'd be like, Daddy. And then anyway, long story. But point is, we would be literally on the road in Cleveland, and fans line up and they're like, Tony Gonzalez. I'm like, first of all, wrong teams with the Chiefs at this point. Secondly, or maybe Atlanta. Anyway, secondly, Chad's like, do you want to see my checkbook? Let me tell you, I am not Tony Gonzalez, but they look alike.
Yes, McLovin.
Even more embarrassing when I went up to Tony Gonzalez and asked him for a Browns credential. I'm like, week 4, Browns, I'm going to be in town. He's like, Hall of Famer.
We'll take a break here. When we come back, I want to ask you about the Ravens. They reportedly brought in Colin Kaepernick. I want to ask you about the Kaepernick rally protest yesterday, your thoughts on that.
Cool.
A few other things. We'll continue with Sage Steele, who the job is now permanent. You've made it.
I just moved back here, Dan. I came from Scottsdale, Arizona, back to Avon, Connecticut.
Yeah.
It better be official.
You can't tell the difference, can you?
Not at all. Goodness gracious.
Oh, boy.
Pray for me.
Yeah. We'll continue with Sage Steele. He's returned to Bristol after being away for 4 years. And coming up Monday, August 28th, anchoring SportsCenter AM from 7 till 10
so
Eastern.
You'll be watching. So we'll be on
from
in
7
here.
until 9.
Right.
And then after that, I like to watch myself. Jay Harris and Randy Scott. And if you want to give a shout out, you can. Like if you say, this reminds me of when Dan Patrick used to do SportsCenter.
When I worshipped the ground he walked on many moons ago.
Were you afraid to come up to say anything?
I was nervous to say hi to you. Because you're Dan. You were Dan Patrick.
I was Dan Patrick.
You were.
Now it's not a big deal.
Back then, you were. Now I'm like, who wants me to come on?
Yeah.
No, honestly, and I think that you have to appreciate what you did, what you all accomplished. You still walk around these buildings, and there's even more buildings, and your picture is all over.
It's still
Stewart's picture, of course.
Yeah, but Stewart didn't do anything wrong. He didn't leave. I left.
But it's not even about.
Shouldn't they name
Keith's picture is up there?
Keith's picture's up?
Yes, there's people all over because you built it. You made it that way.
Don't you think they should name buildings? Like Tom Mee should have a building named.
Well, that's different.
Chris Berman should. No, I don't want a building, but I'm saying I think that would be great to respond to Bob Lee, Chris Berman, Tom Mees. There is no sports center, and if they don't get there and gut it out and honor them. Nike does this on their campus in Oregon.
I've never been there, really?
Yeah, with their athletes. But I think it would be wonderful if you could have a ceremony. ESPN loves to have ceremonies. You could have Chris there, Bob there, Tom Mees' wife, and you could have something really cool, I think.
I don't think there'd be any opposition to it. I just wonder, there's a lot of names to choose from.
Just those three.
There's a lot of buildings.
Just those three. Because the last thing I want to do is go on campus for a ribbon cutting ceremony and my name on a building there.
You would totally go.
No, I would not.
Yes, you would. Especially since it's your idea. You would have to go. And it's an honor.
Then I take away the idea. If it means I have to go there, then I don't want to go. But those three should be honored. Mount Rushmore only has three names, in my opinion, at ESPN. It's Chris and Tom and Bob. Because what they did, it was before anybody wanted to do it.
No, you're right. Before anybody watched, before any of it.
But maybe the fourth head, it would be Keith and I with two heads coming out of one body.
I think that's perfect, actually. And the expressions on your faces.
What would Keith's expression be?
Angry.
Yeah, angry. But passionate.
Oh, for sure, passionate.
All right, let me ask you about this with Colin Kaepernick, because your brother works for the Ravens. I don't know if you talked to him privately about this. Did Kaepernick come in? Did the owner not want him? Did management want him? Why didn't it work out in Baltimore, considering Ray Lewis and Ray Rice were accepted? Welcome back. Why not Seattle, where everybody is a free speaker, free thinker?
First of all, we don't talk about things because it's best not to. We have very different opinions on most things. I mean, I'm the enemy, right?
Yeah.
Media is the enemy in the eyes of many PR people.
But would he be on? Would your brother?
He probably would, and I should ask him. But at the end of the day,
can I ask him?
Go for it.
Yeah, let me ask Chad.
Go for it. You have a cell phone.
But
right?
I feel like the owner kind of put this out there for public consumption.
I just disagree with the whole premise of the issue that people have. Steve Bisciotti, along with the other 31 owners in this league, they run a business.
Yes.
And they have a right to make the decision that they believe is best for their business. Just like Colin Kaepernick has the right to express his opinion and do what's best for him, for his brand, for his career. There's repercussions to both. I have no problem with what Steve Bisciotti did, and I would have no problem if Steve Bisciotti had brought him in. How much of a problem did we have with Jerry Jones, with Greg Hardy over the last couple of years? You know, people pick and choose what they want to freak out about. New York City yesterday. I mean, go for it. That is your right. I think it's comical. I think that if Colin Kaepernick, I just think he would still be on the Niners if he were that good. Other teams would have picked him up. People need talent. There's no question about that, right? If he were that good, someone would have picked him up. Or maybe he is, and these team owners, the PR staffs say, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Because the fallout that comes with it, fans, suite, luxury box holders, right? There's a lot of money involved in that. And you have to consider all those things as a business owner. That is his right to say, we don't want to really go there. And by the way, Ray Lewis back in 2001, 2000, completely different time. More serious, of course. He was never convicted of that, and people forget that. Ray Rice, obviously, things worked themselves out, as they should have, in my opinion. But we pick and choose, and I think it's fascinating that this is a big deal, and this is not. They are business owners. They have a right. But
I also look at it as, if you disagree with Colin Kaepernick, you're somehow racist.
Exactly.
And if you stand in his corner, then you're unpatriotic. There's people want it simplified. Like, that's the problem. This isn't simple. You're not a racist if you disagree with what he's standing or kneeling about. Mm-hmm. And you're not unpatriotic if you choose to do it in the way that he did it. I don't like that he did it that way. I understand why he did it that way.
Same page.
That's all.
I agree.
But it feels like we want it compartmentalized.
But that's what we want to do with everything.
Yes, I know. And that's my problem with it. I don't know what you think of this. I think he likes being a martyr. I think it helps his cause more that he's not playing football.
I agree.
The longer that he plays, or plays this out, doesn't play football, the more this grows. You see the protest now. It's growing. I don't know where it's going, but it's growing. If he plays or he's a backup quarterback, I think it goes away.
I do too. Or it will be, every single snap he takes will be completely over scrutinized, but then it does go away, especially if he's not starting. I mean, look back at the Michael Vick situation, right? And there was one team, as far as I know, that was willing to take him on, and that was costly. That was a big deal. But Michael Vick was still a talent at that point, and the other 31 teams said, no, we're good. So,
but isn't it the over coverage of this that hurts Colin Kaepernick?
Probably. And by the way, what has he said? Has he said anything? Exactly. So that's on the media. And trust me, I have a problem with it. I do not look forward to discussing this on SportsCenter. I really don't.
Well, get ready.
Well, but, and we are going to be doing things a little bit differently. I mean, we are going to be doing, on NFL Mondays, you will see every highlight from every game played on Sunday, every one. Doesn't mean they're all going to be 2 minutes, but we're getting back to that, to more sports. I know, God forbid, and not that we haven't done it on other shows, but that was a key for me. So these discussions need to be had, and there are crossover topics like this that will be discussed. But, I'm talking to Herm Edwards, and they don't want to talk about it all the time either, because it is what it is.
But
is there news on it? No, so move on.
Would you have talked about Robert Lee, the football broadcaster, being taken off the Virginia game on your Sports Center?
Of course not.
Why?
I don't believe that we would have done that, because Colin Kaepernick is an NFL, he's an athlete.
But this got big. And I know it's in-house. I'm surprised ESPN reacted the way they did with, taking him off the game. And somebody leaked it, and that's where it looks worse than what it is.
From what I know, and I really shouldn't even go too far because I don't know all the facts, but this was more about Robert Lee being uncomfortable going on, not ESPN. Yes, this is more about Robert Lee.
Okay.
Yeah, truly. Now, after that, the reactions from there, I don't know. I don't really care.
We reached out to talk to him because we haven't heard, if he was uncomfortable.
It started in Charlotte.
Yes.
With those people saying, I wonder. And Robert Lee, I think we're trying to protect him, but not at all. Bristol saying, oh my goodness, look at the name. We better take it. No, it's not true.
Yeah. And I don't mean to put you in a delicate position, but you're talking about what SportsCenter is and what you can and cannot talk about. And
would you have done that back then?
Well, we would have been given the format.
Would you do it today if you were hosting?
Yes.
On ESPN?
Yes.
And how would you cover it? Like, what would
I would want to have him on. I would ask John Skipper for comment on this.
Which he's given.
Yeah. So I would want him to come on. Remember the show Playmakers?
Yeah.
I was told I was not allowed to talk about Playmakers. And I brought in Mark Shapiro. He said, you can't. He called down to when we were on radio, and he was on the show from his office at ESPN about Playmakers because the NFL did not like Playmakers at all. Mm-hmm. And I went, this is loosely based on all of this. Why can't we talk about this? Why can't you talk about I mean, maybe we could. It's not something that I would bring up in a meeting and say, we should really talk about this. Because then it's like, oh, we're sitting there defending ourselves or something. The Colin Kaepernick is a completely different situation that I do believe deserves to be talked about, not incessantly, but ESPN
not every single
is defending itself over Robert Lee. So you're doing it whether... Well,
at some point you have to. And again, I'm not a PR person. I don't want that job anytime soon, anywhere, much less ESPN. I don't know. I just don't. Here's the thing. When I turn on SportsCenter, that's not what I want to hear. As a viewer,
okay, but what do you...
I want to talk about. I want to see the highlights. I want to hear from Rich Hill. That's what I want as a viewer, and that's what I believe most viewers want when they turn to ESPN. Is less of this.
Did we get away? When did we get away from that?
Because you left 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, but we allowed First Take to happen. That's where you can talk about these things that you can't talk about on SportsCenter. Is that fair?
It's a completely different show. It's a talk show where you talk about those things and you debate about those things.
Yeah.
SportsCenter, that's not what it has ever been. We've brought more conversation into it, and many times important conversation, many times not. There's a lot of things I don't like. I mean, back in the day, however many years ago with Tebow, I didn't want to talk about Tebow every day. And he's a friend of mine. Tebow doesn't want us to talk about Tebow every day. And now he works for us, so it's all good. But there's a lot of, these are the kind of discussions, though, that we'll have in meetings and need to be talked about. And what's the best way to cover it? But I will always go back to, why did people turn us on when Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann were hosting? And why are they turning us on now? And in my opinion, it is not to hear about Charlottesville. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. But I'm wondering, though, everything it feels like has to be a hot take. You have to have an opinion on everything there. I understand.
On First Take, that's not what we're going to be doing. We will have some opinions, the three of us. But I don't believe it's about us.
Oh, good.
It's about the games. It's about the highlights. It's about, let's show some standings. Let's talk about what's coming up tonight. I mean, I'm just old, I guess.
No, but
old school.
I like that. It was that Keith and I had a built-in audience because you couldn't see these highlights. It's what you do with the highlights, how you make it different for the consumer to tune in and go, I've already seen it. Now what do you do? That's the challenge you'll have.
And what they've seen on their phones and their devices is a 25-second clip of something. You're usually not going to sit there on your phone and watch a 2-minute highlight. And then what does it mean afterwards? And have Herm Edwards or Hasselbeck right there as well. So you'll get a clip, but there's a lot more to every highlight. It's a story. It's not just the home run. What happened before the home run? And that's what I still think we can bring that's different.
I'm glad you're back. I'm glad
honestly,
you came in.
I'm thrilled to be. I'm a wimp. I'm going to be freezing cold. I'm going to need antidepressant medication.
My God.
No, I'm a loser when it comes to weather, and I admit it. And I'm scared for January, but I'm really excited to be back. I've actually missed the campus.
I'd like to fill in when Randy Scott goes on vacation. I'd like to fill in maybe one day.
You just said you don't want to come on campus, even if we give you a building.
I don't want a building. Campus. If you don't give me a building, then I'd like to come on.
I would love it. Would you actually follow through with this, or you just talk?
Would they allow me to walk on from like the 7:30 till like 8:15? Like,
okay, so you have specific windows you want to do.
Well, I have to get here to do this show.
Okay, that's true. So you'll have a helicopter bring you quickly.
Oh,
here.
I like that. 7:30 to 8 o'clock, and then I could get down here in time to do this.
I totally think they.
You think they would?
Absolutely.
How about we don't even run it by them?
Well, I signed my contract, so
and Jay's secure there.
Jay's been there for 14 years. Absolutely, that would be great. Would you do it? Or are you just talking again?
No, I would consider it.
Really? Because it's me.
Yes.
Yes.
I owe it to you.
That's the least you could do.
That's the least I could do.
For putting those hot women in bikinis that making me feel self-conscious.
Oh, those are swimsuit models.
Jealous.
Yeah, they're airbrushed. You're not airbrushed. Look at that beauty. Paulie, right. Am I serious that I would walk on with Sage and Jay Harris?
45% serious.
45? Anybody have a higher percent? Fritzy?
I'm going to say 76% serious.
Okay. Right
really?
Around? Yeah.
I trust you, Dan.
Yes, you should.
I trust that you would follow through and that you're being serious.
Now, do they still have the guard with the gun as you come in the gate? They don't have that anymore, right? They do not have that. Sage Steele is back on SportsCenter, and who knows, I might stop in and say hello. 7 until 10 Eastern with Jay Harris. We love. Randall Scott is there as well. It debuts Monday.
He used to be a stand-up comedian, that guy. You need to come on.
With Randall Scott?
Randy, yes. I don't know if you can handle it.
I love his socks. August 28th, Monday, Sage Steele is back in the building at the mothership. We're back after this on The Dan Patrick Show. It's Sage and Dan in the morning. The new radio show here.
Love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
You don't have to go back to SportsCenter.
What I would do.
You can just take. If I said you could have this job or go back to SportsCenter.
You know what? Don't do this.
Okay. All right.
Don't do this. I will say, this is early for me. I don't know if you could handle like a day, every day with me. This is my morning version. It gets crazy.
You get crazy? You do. Would I have to tidy this place up? Because I don't.
I'm a slob.
Oh, then you're okay with it.
But then I get louder and my hair gets bigger. And you never know.
Do you do beer and wings?
I do beer and wings.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Sage and Dan in the morning.
We need some good music.
Yeah. All right. Fritzy, could you sing a theme song for this?
It's Sage and Dan on the fan.
No, it's not on the fan.
It
rhymed, though.
Which radio station?
I had to come up with something that rhymed.
It rhymed, yeah. It's on short notice, all right?
We'll work on that. It's coming.
Would you guys discuss, like, who's more handsome, Brady or Garoppolo? Would that be something brought up on SportsCenter?
Really?
We do it.
Do you want my answer?
Yes.
Looks alone?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brady.
Brady is.
But I'd usually go darker hair.
Garoppolo.
I know.
If Garoppolo, have you seen enough of him?
It's a win-win situation, really. It's good.
Yeah, these are the kind of things we discuss.
These are the important topics.
You would have to discuss these things.
Absolutely.
We had a hot guy draft last year.
You did?
Yes.
Who won?
Let's
lower our voices.
Yeah.
Who won?
I think Herb Street might have been in it. I think Jesse Palmer might have been in it.
Naturally, The Bachelor.
Of course.
Right?
Of course. Yes, Paulie.
David Carr for NFL Network was a high draft pick.
Oh, yeah. David Carr, high draft pick.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Yes. Give me a no. Give me one that you might.
Ryan Reynolds was a high draft pick, the actor.
He's hot.
Who else do we have?
Josh Duhamel, undrafted, then called in to find out about it.
Yeah, Josh Duhamel.
Absolutely, Josh.
Yeah,
Joshua.
Yeah. My wife is like, when are you having Josh Duhamel on again? I go, what are you talking about? No other guest. Yeah.
So bring you breakfast.
Yeah. Hey, you have Josh Duhamel in the studio. Sage and Dan in the morning.
I'm not going to sing.
I'm going to stop by and say hello to you and Jay Harris. And maybe Randall K. Scott will be there as well. We'll make some TV magic on the mothership. All right, you got to go now, okay?
You're kicking me out?
You got to go.
I made him nervous. This whole ESPN talk.
You got to go.
I know.
Oh, I think I made you nervous with all this ESPN.
Bring it.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.